Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Proving Grounds Qualifier Circuit #1 here for the OQ. We got the draw show. I am your host for this evening, Smacks, and I'm joined by Papa Chrono here with me. Chrono, tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do here at Unified.
Hello, everybody. So those of you who have been around amateur probably know me in one form or another. I work at Unified as the COO. Previously, I ran Challengers Uprising, and before that, Uci Esports. So I've been around the amateur scene for a long time and care a lot about it.
Very true, very true. You don't get the Papa title for nothing right there. So.
That's true, that's true.
Glad to have you with us for the day. So Chrono, I've got a few questions to ask you before we actually get into the teams and all of the draw show shenanigans. We're getting right into the second year of Proving Grounds, and we've got the first qualifier for us right today. What are your thoughts getting ready to kick things off?
You know, Proving Grounds is my favorite event of the year. It's not a secret. I look forward to it. And the thing I love most about it is just the gambit of teams and players, right? You've got players in high school, you've got players approaching 30, you've got teams that are LCS affiliated and have proper coaching staffs and paychecks and supporting infrastructure. You have collegiate teams with scholarships, and you have Five Guys in a Dream with a coach and an MS Paint logo. You know, like it's one of my favorite things, and it's an equal level playing field for all of them because they get to prove themselves on the Rift.
No.
So I'm excited.
Feeling is mutual for me as well. Can't get enough of Proving Grounds. I'm so glad that we're back in action. We've got a lot of teams that signed up for this specific tournament, but only 32 actually got into the OQ. How many teams actually did end up signing up in total?
So we had 54 applications this year, which is about 10 or 12 more than we had last year. It's actually increasing year over year, which is really exciting. I think it's a little disappointing because I hate to turn 20 or so teams away, but I think that 32 is probably the best number for this type of event. So really excited to get started, but I also don't want the 20 teams that don't get an opportunity this time to give up because there is another OQ coming up in about a month and a half.
Yeah, we've got that second OQ for all these up-and-coming NA talent teams to participate in. Is there anything else that we've got that they can participate in the meantime?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, my advice, if you don't get picked up for or selected for Proving Grounds qualifiers this time, is first of all, work on your rank because rank is the single biggest factor taken into consideration when we select teams. The second thing would be play in a competitive league. It could be CLOL, it could be UPL, it could be Risen, XLNC, anything where you can compete at a high level against other teams. If you're successful, you will more than likely earn a spot in the next qualifier.
Good to hear. Lots of options out there in the Amateur League of Legends world for you all to check out. If you didn't make the cut into this OQ, like you said, 32 teams total. We'll get to check those out later. Speaking of the OQ and this first qualifier, Chrono, what does the prize pool situation look like for this event?
Yep. So we were just made aware that the prize pool is going to be 12,500 for the qualifier. So really excited for that.
Very nice. Is that the same for both of them, the second one that's coming up as well?
I believe so, yes.
Awesome. Awesome. That's very, very exciting. All those teams looking out for that prize pool getting up in the upper echelons of the event. Now, Chrono, I've got one more question for you. It's the one that I'm sure everyone at home is very curious to know about. Will you be making your first caster debut on the broadcast for this event?
You know, I'm going to need a few more drinks before I'm ready for that opportunity, but I'll never say never.
All right, well, good to hear. We'll get you on there at least at some point. I can't wait to cast
All
you,
right.
Chrono.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate
thank you
it.
so much for your time.
No problem.
Without further ado, everyone, let's actually get into seeing the teams. With me for that one, I've got a couple of my fellow casters that are going to be with me on the event, Beatdown Boulevard and RMC. Let's get them on the screen here. There they are. Look at their beautiful faces. Hi, guys.
You're too kind,
Hey,
Smacks. Come on, man.
No. You guys are looking fire. I really like your camera, by the way, Beatdown. I can see all the pixels on your face. It looks great.
Oh, thank you. Yes, you know, all the what is it? The flaws, the blemishes. It's just me and all, you know.
No. You're flawless, just the way you are.
Oh,
All right. Yeah,
It's perfect. We can see your background as well. That's classic.
That's where I thought Smacks was
love it.
going with that. I'm not gonna lie, because that's the first thing people say all the time. They're like, "Wow, who needs a green screen?" Maybe beat down. It's like, yeah, this is way more expensive, but yeah.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff back there. That looks great. But yeah, we're gonna get into the 32 teams. Before we actually do that, I do have a disclaimer for everybody out there. We are actually going to announce all 32 teams, which means if you're a team out there who hasn't had your talent announcement yet, we're going to announce it. And that's just how it's going to go, because we do want to give all of the teams in the OQ ample time to prepare and get ready for their first match, which is in 2 days, mind you. That's happening on Monday. You better be there for the OQ action. We're going to be streaming some of that on this very channel, so not going to want to miss out for that. But yeah, sorry to all the teams that have not made their announcement tweets quite yet. We're going to spoil it for you just a little bit, but I hope to still see some talent announcements on Twitter. I will be liking all of those because I always love to see those. But yeah, without further ado, gentlemen, I think it's time. Let's hop right in with the first team. 32nd, we are going in seeding order. We have none other than Meme City Esports. A hilarious name to get things started off. Gentlemen, this is looking pretty fun. I can't wait to shout Meme City Esports on the cast.
I just hope they bring as much fun to their games as their name is here. And Smacks, I'm not familiar with a lot of these players here. I am familiar with the org, and they've been making waves in the amateur scene in various leagues here. So I'm hoping that their PG team can do the same here.
Yeah, for sure. So there are going to be a lot of teams in this list that have some players that we actually have no idea who they are. And that's one of the most exciting things about these tournaments to me, because then we actually get to see their stories take place in front of our very eyes with them. And I personally cannot wait to actually get into that one and see if any of these sort of unknown teams actually make their way into the main tournament past that, because that would be quite an upset.
Yeah, now actually we're going to look at the next team, 31st. It's going to be Zodiac Esports. And it's just kind of going off what you said, RMC. Like, it's a lot of players we haven't really seen very much of in the amateur scene, and it is really nice that the opportunity is there for them to be able to actually come out, like Chrono was saying, show us what they have and see if they can actually qualify and make it all the way to that Proving Grounds tournament.
Yeah, for sure. And Zodiac as well, an organization who did try last year in the Proving Ground circuit as well, I believe in the summer. And if my memory serves me right, their AD carry Kappa here was on the team last year as well, Cappuccino. And, they're trying to come back in, trying to make this. The rest of the team, though, looks a little bit different here. So big changes with this 31st seed.
Some returning members, some old faces, and a logo that looks like the Pokemon Mew, which I always love.
Hey.
True.
In there.
Yeah, maybe it's the hidden OP here. But moving on here, we've got the 30th seed coming in as well. And now the other two orgs looked a little bit familiar, but this one, I've got to admit, I'm not familiar with Verity Esports here. Now, some of the players, maybe a little bit more familiar. I know Riverside Smacks, you were telling me all about this guy. Lots of skill here. Big Twitter presence as well.
I love his Twitter.
Pretty good fan.
His Twitter is very fun. If you're not following Riverside on Twitter, be sure to do that. He posts some banger memes. But yeah, I also, while we were doing the prep, I believe Beatdown, it was you who looked up what Bible verse that is.
Oh yeah, for the jungler.
Yeah, you wanna recite that one for us?
Oh man, I don't have the tab open, but it was something like a better chance of passing a camel through the eye of a needle than a rich man getting into the kingdom of heaven. And
there it is.
Just further proof that Jesus had nothing but bangers.
True. Now, hopefully, it's easier for Verity to get into the group stages here than it is for that camel.
Yeah, I would say so.
True. All right, well, without further ado, let's get into the next team. We got Trance's Tyrants right here. And yeah, a bunch of other really fresh faces. I gotta say, I love the name Ping Paddler. That is amazing. I wonder if he actually does play table tennis. Maybe that is a table tennis to esports pipeline before our very eyes.
got those mechanics, right? Fast hands.
The hand-eye, of course.
The dexterity, off the charts with that.
All needed. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all we have to say on to that one. We can jump to the next one, too. UFT Blue, which is interesting. I know, RMC, you were the one telling me how a good amount of them were likely from the UFT's Mississauga campus. Shout out to UTM, rather. Very close to where I live. Not familiar with a lot of these players either. I do know Red Eclipse is not the same Eclipse that is on Dig Academy. So there
That's
you
true.
go.
This is the red version. It's
Yes.
like being a holographic card.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
guy's
yeah,
shiny.
yeah.
I find it amusing that it's Red Eclipse since U of T blue here. So evidently, the game plan's not to play the top side, right? That's how this team's gonna work.
I mean, it's worth this is not the only color contradiction we're gonna see on this list today. So this is some theme we don't know about apparently.
Yeah.
Or we just don't know colors, even though we are all color cast.
Are we colorblind?
Probably,
Oh my god.
Should probably catch up on that one.
Maybe.
Yeah, colorblind mode needed here. But
Please.
UFT Blue, a collegiate team, the first one we're seeing on this list here, and hopefully we do get to see many more. But moving on to the 27th seed, team No Ace here. And now this one has a couple of more maybe familiar names to see. Obviously, Kitsuo the jungler, probably the more well-recognized name here. But Topopotamus, their top laner as well, known as a very stable top laner. And arguments, Corgi, I've not seen them as much in PG, but I have seen them play in tournaments with Kitsuo before, so I'm expecting to see a lot of synergy on this bot side of the map here.
Yeah, and if you know my boy Rafa, shout out to Rafa, you know that he's a big Kitsuo stan, so I'm sure he's going to be a big fan of No Ace once we get into those OQs. You can always count on Rafa to stick by his homies, So Kitsuo's definitely got a cheerleader alongside this whole team. But yeah, with that, let's move on to the next team. Another collegiate team, actually, Michigan Esports,
Hey.
University of Michigan, my home state. If in the spirit of doxing our addresses, got a few people who've been bouncing around. I know Sham Wow previously was on the Redbird Esports squad, now moving over to University of Michigan, and some other names that I think we've recognized before. I've seen Omli bouncing around a bit.
Yeah, only I think Conviction last year actually
Yes.
played in UGP 2021, so
Hey.
definitely has some experience coming in here. And I believe Soma as well, the support for the team, played with only on Blacklist earlier on in the season as well. So some existing synergy between some of the players here.
Right, now the next team we're going to look at here is Supernova Dark Matter.
Oh.
These are definitely one of the more maybe endemic, I guess is the best word, orgs we're very much used to seeing in the amateur scene, even though this is their other roster, not the main one that we're used to seeing. Still, like, worth noting, Supernova in recent memory, especially in the PG circuits, actually done a pretty good job making waves overall. I'm excited to see what this roster is going to do. I know, Smax, you're a big fan of Hanjay. When we were
Yeah.
talking and going over this squad earlier on.
This is not the only Supernova Dark Matter mid laner that I've been a fan of either. If you'll remember, in 2020,
here it comes.
Supernova Dark Matter had a familiar player on that team called Spirax, now in Academy. So this is a promising alma mater to come from if you are on this squad. Definitely look for these guys to make some waves. Yeah, like you said, Supernova, an endemic org when it comes to the amateur space. And since this is a second team, we might be spoiling that Supernova main is somewhere on this list as well, but we'll get to that when we get there.
You mean you're telling me the heart of amateur isn't beating somewhere? But with that is our first set of teams here coming through, our first 8 teams. And yeah, you can already tell, some teams, the names, the orgs look kind of familiar. A lot of newer players, and honestly, Smacks Beatdown, I'm excited to see some of these players I don't recognize, and I want to see what new blood we've got here in the scene.
Yeah, definitely. Always love seeing new players. Always love seeing new stories take place. And yeah, just because these guys are in the bottom half, or the bottom quarter, I should say, does not mean that they can't make their way all the way through. Going to be a lot of games played in the open qualifier to see if they can pull their weight and get all the way through.
That's right. Every one of these teams is going to have a chance beginning next week to be able to actually make their way through the later parts of this tournament. So yeah, there's a very likely that we could see one of these teams actually make some waves, upset a couple of matches, just shock us a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, maybe lower seeds, but seeding isn't always, the most reflective of skill. And that's why we play the game, right? To see
Of
what
course.
happens here. And with that, I'd like to move on to the 24th seed here with that wonderful logo. Goose Gaming coming through here. And interestingly enough, while the team doesn't show us a collegiate team, when I was checking out these players, this is basically the University of Waterloo team. So it's effectively a collegiate team as far as I'm concerned.
That could be true. I personally noticed a couple of things when looking at this team. One, their logo looks more like a swan than a goose to me.
There it is.
I don't know if that's just a me thing. I think that's a swan. I'm going to call shenanigans on that one. Secondly, Coach Quatch Daddy. I'm a big fan of that guy. He was in the Cloud9 training grounds with me, so that'll be a fun guy to track and see how Goose Gaming does. Always love some geese themes here.
It's just a masterwork. It's a masterwork goose. Smacks Orn upgrades, right?
Yeah. Ooh,
Smacks,
yeah.
I have to ask, Smacks, have you ever met a goose?
Yes, I have.
Then are you sure you're really excited about them? I don't understand. I'm confused.
I like them. They're very pretty. They're very fun to watch and be very far away from.
Okay, just making sure.
I would not.
He's met a goose. He's met a goose.
Please, if you're listening, do not go out and pet a goose. It will not go
Please,
well.
God.
Yeah, and Goose Gaming is looking to be as fearsome as geese. We'll have to see if they bite just as or peck just as hard here.
Yes, and with that piece of advice in mind, let's move on to number 23. We've got Mount Olympus in here. Firstly, big thing that jumps out to me: low elo, big ego. Hilarious name. Absolutely hysterical.
Yeah, I would second that. I like the logo too. It's actually pretty neat.
Yeah, I like it as well. It looks kind of like a bumper sticker.
That could very well. You think they'll let me put that on my car?
Yeah, I think so. I think if they get through the OQ, I think you have to put that on your car.
I'd be obligated, wouldn't I?
Yeah, we'll have to buy some Mount Olympus merch. But yeah, again, this is another team that does not have a lot of players that we've seen before. But again, that's completely all right. Can't wait to see these guys play.
That is right. Now we're going to jump over to Grandview University, a team, another collegiate team, but this is one we're certainly a lot more familiar with if you pay any attention to the amateur scene. Like if you watch UPL, a lot of these players have definitely made their way around. I'm especially a fan of Meslo and the fact that anytime someone picks a melee champion into him, he will just lock Riven mid and absolutely dumpster them. And I need to see that at least once in this tournament. Please, Draher, let him do it.
Well, now that that's out there, P-Town, I don't know if teams are going to let that through.
You might be.
The team's ego all the time. They'll never ban it.
True. What was that? Low elo, big ego? Maybe,
Exactly.
Coming through from Mount Olympus. But Grandview University, I mean, a well-known collegiate team. I would like to highlight their jungler here, Colthrow, because Colthrow has played on Grandview before, but at the same time, most recently played with Columbia College. So coming back into play with Grandview University here, I want to see whether he can just slot right back in and whether Grandview continues to play at that high level we've come to expect from them. Yeah.
Another big thing is their support. Pluto is a Cubby certified prodigy coming straight out of Miami University, Ohio. So gotta give him a shout out there. I know Cubby's watching this and excited about this player to play later on Monday. But yeah, I'm excited for this team. Another collegiate team. We got a lot of these.
Yeah, and speaking of collegiate teams, our next one is a collegiate team as well.
Hey!
ISU, Illinois State University's Redbird Esports here. And again, another strong collegiate team. I'm actually really happy here, Smacks and Beatdown, that we're seeing so many more collegiate teams this year. Last year, it felt like it was just Winthrop and Maryville University, of course. And this time, we've got so many more here. And with the Redbirds here, Disconnector going back into the top lane. And I believe last they played that role was back in early 2020. They've been playing AD carry mostly, but now going back up there again. And especially with the teleport changes as well, I'm very curious to see what style Disconnector brings into this meta.
Yeah, that one's super interesting.
If you've been a long-time Disconnector viewer as well, you'll remember the times when Senna was released and he and Daption in the bottom lane were playing Senna Rumble, which is not something that anybody else in the entire world dared try, but Disconnector was still out here doing it, so very exciting. Another notable part is that this team gets a free ban because you can't let them pick Zillion.
Yeah, literally, you know what? And I'm sure if Tempos is actually watching this, he'll be the first to bring it up. Tempos' Thresh kind of goes dumb, kind of goes stupid. It's actually pretty good. He made a whole meme about it. The 5 stages of Tempos' Thresh. So something to look out for.
For sure. And I did not see that meme till you showed it to me, B-Town,
Yeah.
but that was an excellent meme here. And yeah, we'll have to see whether, teams actually do let it through. I'd be excited to see it. Drew Dozer as well, their mid laner, and Gluten Free Panda, their jungler, they've played together before. And I remember seeing ISU or seeing the Redbirds play last year. I believe it was the qualifiers for Cup. And honestly, I was very impressed by this jungle mid duo. So I want to see, if they continue playing at that level, and maybe they can cause some grief for teams without teleport here. Mid jungle control could very well split the map.
Yeah, and speaking of Drew Dozer, he was actually in the last Unified Grand Prix that we did. Now, granted, he was on the desk with me, but he was still in the tournament.
It still counts.
And some people might say that that's flame. I see it as a competitive advantage. He gets a bird's eye view of the tournament, and he gets to scope out the competition. So,
Smacks buff,
only
yeah.
going to be
good
able to
on,
help.
good
It's
on
the
Drew
Smacks
Dozer
buff.
there. Yeah. Let's move on to Seed 20, a team that I personally have beef with. Because Dare Red, that is not the red color, guys.
Ah, yeah. There it is. The continuation of the Color Crimes saga, where another team is confusing us with their names and their logo. But I mean, it is a nice logo.
It is a nice logo, but
Yes.
Is red like an acronym for something? It surely can't be the color, because that is very clearly yellow.
I mean, I like what you said, RMC, where it's gonna be red of the blood of their enemy, something. That's pretty good.
It's Dare Red because at the end of the games, it's gonna run red one way
There
or another. Here.
it is.
There you
Or
go.
at least I hope. But
Speaking of red, BMFX actually subbed in 2 wildcard red just last year, while their AD carry at the time, Team Luke, was having a stint in Academy as a substitute. So BMFX, a name that has existed in the last year, one to watch out for sure. Wildcard did do pretty well with him on the team.
Yeah, definitely. And with this team as well, one thing that is somewhat interesting is that Dare actually ran 2 teams last year, Dare White and Dare Black. And on this particular roster here, Limo, their jungler, is coming in from Dare White here. But I think that's the only remaining member, or pardon me, Enigma, I think, was also on Dare White. So a lot of changes with this roster here, trying to find a bit more success than what they did last year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and we're going to jump to the next team. 19th seed is going to be Glaive Esports Prime.
Hey.
So we definitely, another org that has definitely been around the NA amateur scene for quite a bit of time. Some of these players we've actually seen as well. I've seen DMR around. I actually think it's with the Glaive org. If it's the same Yasin, I'm thinking in the bottom lane. He's also been around the block a little bit, playing for Wildcard Developmental, stuff like that. He's a pretty solid player.
Yeah, and this team also does feature Zadox, a.k.a. Zaddy, a.k.a. the cutest jungler on the Rift, a.k.a. the greatest of all time. So that's going to be pretty exciting.
Yes, Max, I see that we have the same taste here. Zadox, big fan of him there. And hey, Tibbs coming in the top lane is a new pickup for this team. They've actually retained majority of their players here. Zadox, Daimar, Sandolian. All these guys were on Glaive last split already. So the big change is Yasin, as you mentioned there, coming in from Wildcard, and Tibbs coming in. So big question mark on Tibbs here. And I want to see Tibbs be able to perform. But speaking of Wildcard here, what would Proving Grounds be without Wildcard? And 19th seed are the Wildcard aces here. Guys, I'm going to say it right up here. First of all, I love Paucus as support. I cast a lot of him last split, but I'm a big ISO stan. So I'm so happy to see ISO back into Proving Grounds once again.
You a Maokai boy, RMC?
Yes, I like tag top laners. I love Alorum. I love ISO. I don't know if we're going to see the Maokai quite come back for ISO just yet, though.
Maybe
ISO,
not.
maybe, please?
I think you should. I think you're begging to the wrong people. You'd probably be begging to the Riot Balance team if you want him to.
There
play
it
that
is.
champion.
True.
That's more
mean,
likely at this point.
I mean, hey, to be fair, with the items like Thimblewinter being a thing, we could very well see Maokai sort of come back. That extra addition of mana. A lot of Maokai players are saying, like, hey, this could be it.
Definitely
You
good.
might get your wish.
Also, big
I
shout out
hope
to,
so, fingers crossed.
to Toasty Alex on this team. Was bouncing around the high school scene just before this, so really
Wow.
good to see a high school player come into the Proving Ground space. I hope that he and Wildcard Aces can punch above their weight class and go far. That would be very, very exciting. Always got to root for the youngins, building up the NA talent piece by piece, brick by brick.
Smacks, they're getting younger, man. High school, come on.
Yeah, I know. Eventually, I'm going to be 10 years older than some of these players, and at that point, I might just have to retire. But speaking of new players, we've got the 17 seed Team Ambition. Some other names that haven't seen in a while, and also haven't seen in general. Some of these guys did play previously. Speaking of players coming from GVU, that is where Chookies hails from, the support on this squad. So excited to see him back in action.
Yeah, we've definitely seen Nemesis and Nightstar around too. I'm pretty sure Joshi is the one who is constantly going something like Nightstar.
Oh yeah.
Every time he does something good, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm down with that too. I mean, both of them were on the Conviction team that did make some ripples in
true.
PG last split. And I think Nightstar is a really good AD carry too, with Chookies, who is a good support, as you mentioned there, Smacks. I'm hoping to see a little bit more out of this bot lane here from Team Ambition.
Yeah, didn't Nightstar place really high in UPL as well? I think that's the same player that I'm remembering.
I think you're right.
Yeah, so some good AD carry talent coming out of Team Ambition. Yeah, with that, we've got another breakdown for you all. We're halfway done at this point. We're keeping good pace, actually. We're actually exactly 30 minutes in. Look at that, guys. We were time management
so talented
kings out here.
I hope that we're going to be able to manage the top half quite as well.
Oh, we're not.
I mean, we're already starting to see some of the names we're familiar with, right? We're seeing wildcard pop back in teams like Glaive, like Dare, like Redbirds, Grandview University, teams that we know we love. And the top half is going to see even more of these teams here. So I feel like it's just going to get more and more from here, guys.
Absolutely. Good time to remind everyone that in this OQ, half the teams get in. That is 16. So based on seeding alone, if any of these teams do qualify, that would be a big feat, and that would be really worth celebrating, because that would be an upset. So definitely look out for any of these guys if they can make it all the way and qualify to the first Proving Grounds qualifier for 2022. That'll be very exciting.
And we're going to jump now to our next team, 16 seed. So we're getting to the top half here, and it is going to be UCI Esports. A couple names that ring a bell, and of course, one name that I know we're all thinking about, who made a couple of waves last year. It is our boy Cinnamon Bread, the set boy wonder, playing for this squad this time around.
Punching a hole through Golden Guardians Academy last year. I will never forget that game. Thank you, Cinnamon Bread, for giving us one of the best Proving Grounds games of all time. Also here we do have Kim Down. Kim Down, now the ladder reset, so there's no proof anymore. But before that happened, he was rank 2 on the ladder as a support, just behind General Sniper. So pretty exciting player on this UCI team as we do break into the top half of the seeds. I'm expecting some big things from these very young players.
Yeah, and not to mention Sahori was the AD carry, was with Cinnamon Bread on that team that beat GGA. So you pair him up with, rank 2 on the ladder, and hey, we were just talking about Nightstar in the bot lane. This is another bot lane that we would definitely want to keep our eyes on here. But for now, seed 15, let's keep on track here. We've got ourselves some nameless randoms. And I mean, the name... Fair. I'm not super familiar with a lot of these players here, but at the same time, I feel like any team that puts randoms in their names, I've got to support them to a certain degree. I'm a random myself. I supported AoE randoms or just randoms last year. Nameless randoms, I got your back. I don't know you yet, but I will be keeping an eye out on these players.
Yeah, we gotta spam random check 07 in the chat right now to see who all is backing these boys. I love the purple minion looking guy as well. This is it's looking like a scary team. Yeah.
Yeah, it could very well be. I mean, it's just another example of teams where, especially if they ended up getting seeded like this high as well, you got to imagine these players are at least somewhat decent, and I'm really interested to see how well they're actually going to play when we get to those OQs in a couple days.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Yeah, and when you're this high up, like we said, we're in the top half right now of seeds here. So if we don't know them too much from the amateur scene, I'm thinking the other teams in the tournament have to be a little bit careful here. How much info can you pull up on these guys? They've got to be good to be this high up.
Yeah, definitely. With that, Nameless Randoms 15. Let's move on to 14. Some names that maybe are a little bit less random for Proving Grounds fans. And
There we
collegiate
go.
Fans alike. Winthrop University coming in at 14. And yeah, we know a good chunk of these players. Kenji, the defending champion of collegiate, alongside Frost Forest as well. Slotting in some new players, of course, some graduates, some moves around, but Frost Forest, Kenji, the collegiate champions, undeniable strength out of those two players.
For sure, and even Ivano in the mid lane, who's actually still a pretty solid player, even though you know some pretty big shoes to fill. Since Doxa did leave the team, but he's been doing a really good job so far. And honestly, after the break, this is a team I wondered about a lot. After I think the last time I saw them do anything was like Midwestern Conference, the MEC. This was months ago too. So I'm excited to see how they look now in January.
Yeah, a bit of a change up on the roster. And Ivano, the mid laner, as well, Mabud in the top lane here. These are guys who have worked together. I believe it was back on Wichita Wolves last year or the year before already. So
That's a
while
throwback.
they are, that's an old name there. While they, they might be newer to the Winthrop name here, to the Winthrop team, there is some pre-existing synergy as well. And, when we've seen Winthrop work best in the past, it's been through teamwork.
Speaking of Winthrop, Beatdown, I believe we have the next team.
Okay, sorry. When you said speaking of Winthrop, I was going to let you go. I got confused. But regardless, Taco Gaming, C13. This was a roster who, again, full players. Speaking of Doxa, he is here on the squad playing, funny enough. And again, now we're getting to these teams where we have a lot of familiarity with these players. I mean, Trickster, Cozy, Link. We've seen all of these players if you paid any attention in the amateur scene. And, of course, seeding this high as well just gives you an inkling of like how good this team really is.
Yeah, for sure. In the entirety of last year, a lot of these guys did make a splash. Cozy, most recently, did play in the Proving Grounds in the summer on Supernova. So really exciting stuff. I believe Lynx was on that team as well, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is right. Yeah, Lynx was in there with Cozy. And,
He was called Sleepy Lynx at the time, right?
Yeah, Sleepy Lynx, same guy. Same
guy.
Yeah, very, very low econ 80 carry. So I kind of like the way this team kind of works as well. I think, you can leave your bot lane, focus a bit on the top side, let Cozy try and carry a little bit here, because I don't think Cozy got the opportunity, unfortunately, to carry too much last split here, but certainly has the potential. And, with Doxa as your mid laner, that's certainly going to give you the pressure you need in the mid lane here. But moving on,
well, actually,
mixed team.
They might want to change the coach from TBD to RMC with that analysis. Kind of
like okay.
I don't know about that, man. Taco Gaming. I'm down for it. They probably won't be. But 12th seed, here we go here. And it is going to be Dinka. Whoa. When did they change the name? I was told this was Team Dinka. Dinka never homeless again. And we talked about some paint logos. I absolutely love this here. Dinka needed a home, needed a PC, and apparently he's got it, even though it's only got basic MS Paint.
This is not the logo that I was promised. I saw a different version of this.
Yeah, so, oh, wow.
I like this one a lot better. I'm glad this is what we've got. This is amazing.
It's pretty good.
Hyper is not happy. Our producer Hyper is fuming in our ears, but I could not be happier. I'm in full bliss mode. Anyway, to talk about the players, Captain Trimps, Eno, and Duo King actually comprised a team that was playing in a couple of unofficial tournaments over the last summer. They were playing alongside Sheeden and Concept, who is now an Academy. And they actually won a lot. So these three players together actually have accomplished quite a bit, albeit outside of the Proving Ground space, but they do have that synergy and they do have the results to speak for it.
And I think, to be fair, even before those tournaments actually took place, like they did play in UPL, excuse me. I believe it was under the AOE banner, if I'm remembering correctly. And the thing that's interesting too is even like just looking at the names, everyone thought, damn, if those guys could work together well, like that is going to be a nasty roster. And they showed us that. And that's why them still as a core being able to play again today is also really exciting. Amazing name and logo aside. The team does look quite strong.
Yeah.
First place, UPL 2021.
That's right.
There it is.
I think AOE Cope was the other team.
Sorry, it was Cope.
I mean, it's 2022. AOE has goodness knows how many teams at this point, right?
Oh my
That's
God,
their
yeah.
whole brand, their identity. So,
Of
but
course.
yeah, this one was Cope. And so, hey, this team actually looks like a legit contender here. And, you know,
Yeah.
Dinka, if this team succeeds, Dinka really might not be homeless again. This is a team that probably will go on towards at least summer here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also worth mentioning, the reason that they didn't play in any of the Proving Ground stuff is because Captain Shrimps was too busy clicking heads in Proving Grounds on Cloud9 Amateur. So
That's
they couldn't
right.
actually. They didn't have their mid laner. He was beating people up in the actual tournament. So very exciting player coming out. Very unique champion pool. Do you guys remember the Singed mid? Because I certainly do.
I do. I also remember the Rumble mid in
Yeah.
the finals
Oh,
of
yeah.
Risen last
Oh,
year.
yeah.
That was amazing. I actually am like I do really like Captain Shrimps. I actually think he's quite a good
For sure.
player. And yeah, I hope they do well.
Me too. So we move on. We've got our 13, or no, am I doing this in order? 11. 11 is how numbers work. Third party. Definitely some exciting. I believe this is the highest team that we actually get with not a lot of super familiar faces on it. Like none of these players actually played in the previous Proving Ground circuit of 2021. So these guys have a lot of hype behind them as the new Zoomers on the block. And for me particularly, I'm excited about Lunar because I actually have worked on a team that he was on before. It was called Akuma, and he was a stellar bot laner back then. We were a quote-unquote diamond team, but we all knew that this guy was was very, very good. And he was smurfing out everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's really good. We're going to see another example of that out here. Hopefully, again, like you said, 11 seed. They do seem quite good. I've heard good things about Zamudo. I've heard good things about Messages as well. And I hope they're able to actually show that to us.
Yeah, and then, you know, just going back to Lunar a little bit here, Smacks, I think the most recent team I've seen Lunar on wasn't even Akuma. It was Chilly Mountain Wolves, who
That's
I think
true, yeah.
did make an attempt at a PG. I've got to admit, they didn't make the main event.
I think they were in
Yeah,
OQs,
I
yeah.
actually forgot about that. He
Yeah.
was on that team because that had Pocus on it as well, who is also at
Yeah.
this tournament. So, yeah.
Yeah,
good
so
call, good
hey,
call.
they're pretty high up elo-wise, or pardon me, not elo, seeding-wise, pardon me. They're pretty high up this time, so maybe they make a better run of it. 11th seed is pretty far up. 16
Yeah,
make
true.
it through.
Yeah.
On paper, there's 5 seeds lower than you.
Yeah. Also, this is the Kyle Tyson team. Shout out to my boy Kyle. I'm excited for you to be on this team.
Yeah, and I mean, moving on to our 10th seed, I mean, we kind of hinted at it when we saw Supernova Dark
Spoilers.
Matter. And yeah, I know. Well, I wasn't the one who said it, to be fair. But of course, Supernova, the main team, are going to be here in this tournament as well as the 10th seed. A lot of players that we're all very familiar with. I think most notably Fire Theft, I believe, has been around the scene quite a long time. Psycho played for Wildcard Red last year, actually subbed in as well during, I don't remember, someone had PC issues. I remember specifically Arrow
Yeah, he
playing
played
Draven mid.
Yep.
No, actually Psycho played Seraphine bot, and
Oh,
they had
yeah,
Arrow
you're
play
right.
Draven mid, and I couldn't believe what was happening. It was actually in the finals.
I forgot about
Well,
that.
True, yeah. I mean, hey, at least he lives up to the name, right? He's Psycho, and they were
True.
willing to
Oh,
do
yeah.
it. They still won with it here. Love to see it. My eyes are on Ariendo, the mid laner here for Supernova. I've really liked their playstyle for a while. I've seen a lot of them in the off season, and I think the meta has shifted at the perfect time. Ariendo's impressed me a lot with his map awareness, especially on champions with a lot of mobility, like Galio, Rise, where they can sort of TP or make semi-global moves. And hey, once again, meta change, no TP available. I'm
yeah.
really liking this mid lane possibility that Ariendo brings to Supernova.
A lot of collegiate players, a lot of collegiate strength, and even a collegiate coach whose name we have to censor on this screen, unfortunately. You cannot get the full thing.
Yeah, shout out Dylan though, for real, for real.
I like to make fun of him and say that his name is short form Major League Baseball Dylan.
Wait, that's actually really good though. I think that's just what it should be.
Well, for now, that is what it is, because we're not going to show
Yes.
you the full thing.
Well, we can always ask Dylan there.
Yeah, ask
I'm
him
sure
in the
he'll
chat.
be willing to impart knowledge. I mean, certainly I've spoken to him before, and he's always ready with a quick wit and lots of knowledge. But we're into single digits, gents, and
Okay.
it is going to be Bay State College Maroon, or Bay State Maroon, pardon me, coming in as the 9th seed here. And this is pretty much the collegiate roster, yet another collegiate team. I would like to highlight their AD carry, Sophist Sage. If you're familiar with the collegiate scene, you might realize that, hey, Sophist Sage isn't someone that you've seen before. Well, they're new to BSU here. Everybody else has been kind of the regular roster here. And the fact that they're bringing Sophist Sage in now tells me that this player should be a level up here, should be somebody to keep our eyes on.
Yeah, you're saying that this guy is new. That's true for this team. He is a complete boomer in the League of Legends space, though, in North America. This guy went to Scouting Grounds in 2018, and if my math is correct, that was 5 years ago now. So this guy has been around.
4 years.
Definitely. No, that's 5. 2022, 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018. That's 5.
We'll split the difference. We'll call it 4.5. It's the beginning of 2020. Right. 22.
Anyway, yeah, very exciting players. These guys have been around for a very long time, and super excited that we have these guys in the tournament. And with that, I believe we do have one last recap of all the teams up until this point. We only have the top 8 left, getting into the big upper echelon squads. But yeah, it's quite a stacked lineup here, gentlemen. Very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even from the bottom or the top half of the top 16, we're already starting to see names we recognize. And now top 8, we're getting into very storied orgs, teams who usually do quite well. And now we only have the top 8 left. You got to imagine it's going to be the heavy hitters.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you're wondering where a team is that you expected to see, well, it's probably here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, let's just start things out with a bang. We got one last collegiate roster. I guess that's kind of a spoiler for the rest of it. But,
well, there we go.
If you see that Maryville's on here at the top, you probably knew that one already. Maryville coming in the top 8 as a collegiate team. We've got Niles back from his Golden Guardians tenure on the roster. And you'll notice that they are going to be running Kind Jungle and Get Back for the beginning of the tourney. They do still have Odd Orange and APA, the new member, on the squad as well. But this is going to be the starting roster for the get-go. But honestly, like, whatever roster they decide to field, if Niles and Shady are on it, these guys are a competitor for the top teams, and maybe even winning the whole thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right, honestly, Swax. Like
Yeah.
those two alone are very, very skilled. Especially like Niles, all his time and experience in the LCS. Now he's gonna come back to collegiate. Kind of remind everyone why some people called him Mr. Top Gap himself.
Captain America.
True. And I'm looking at Kind Jungle as well. I'm remembering Kindred, from Kind Jungle there, another carry style player. And I feel like when you've got this much pressure, if Shady's on point, if Niles is on point here, Kind Jungle gets to basically play the entire map, get to take over. And when I'm looking at how stacked this roster, this is the 8th seed. I'm terrified of what we're going to see in the next coming 17s.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that. Go actually.
I got one last word for these guys.
All right, let's go.
Remember, back in Scouting Grounds 2020, this Maryville squad did take 3rd place overall, only losing out to 100 Thieves Next and Anu. And that team had Niles, Evan, and Shady on it. So I'm expecting some very big things from these guys. I've heard very good things from Get Back as well. And even, like I said before, the other members on the Maryville squad on the bench ready to hop in at any moment. This team is full of all-stars, and I'm really excited for this collegiate powerhouse to be back.
That's right, and then it wraps it up for collegiate teams, but we still got a bunch of teams left here towards the end. The next team, our 7th seed, is going to be Radiance. Definitely, again, another one of these storied orgs that we have seen around, and a handful of players that we have seen before. I mean, Porsche, Bluster. I remember Bluster had some time on EGP last year. Very young player, but still solid all around. And I'm excited to see that he still gets to. I'm excited that he still gets a chance to play.
Yeah, big story on this team is Crimson, the youngest player on this roster, and one of the youngest players in the entire tournament. Just turned 15, which is the youngest that you can possibly be to be in these tournaments. Twin brother of Sniper, younger brother of Viper. Something is in the gene pool over there that makes these guys just so cracked at League of Legends, and we're going to get to see Crimson show that to us in the mid lane on one of those storied endemic rosters and teams and orgs in the amateur space. I'm super excited for this player.
Yeah, he's on Radiance. It's time to shine. But I want to shed some light, speaking of that, on the bot lane here with Raheen and Light Pulse, because I've always been a big Raheen fan. Anytime Kai'Sa is in the meta, I'm a huge fan of Raheen. And with the bot lane potentially being a little bit more isolated here, I could see the potential of them dominating the lane, and Light Pulse as well from Dignitas Mirage last split here. I was a big fan of Light Pulse. I think played alongside Cow in the bot lane here. They did manage to do a lot of work, won that bot lane quite frequently as well. So paired with Raheen, I want to see some blood down the bot lane.
I think this is going to be one of the strongest bottom lane pairs in the whole tournament. I'm really, really excited for these two to be together. Light Pulse, you know, if you ever watched a Light Pulse game, you'd see it in the Twitch chat. All of the Light Pulse stands were out in full force, screaming this guy's name. I was right there with him, and I'm going to do it again.
Let's go here. And that is the 7th team. So going further up, 6th team. Let's go. And the 6th team is, well, no team at all. This is XT's team here. If you're familiar with the amateur scene, you know XT, you know a sense of humor. Teams tend to run with these sort of names. No team, no org, things like that here. But despite the unassuming name, the names on this roster are stacked here. We talk a lot about young prodigies. Well, here's another one. Another 15-year-old here, Smacks Beatdown. Griffin coming into the jungle, known to be, you know, potentially the next big thing in the jungle here. And you pair him with the likes of, say, Dragoon, with Scooped and Frey, or previously known as Plux there in the bot side. There are the more stable veteran presences here on this team to enable Griffin to pop off.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like when you pair new players with more experienced players in that regard. It really helps the development. And I'm really interested because we talk about strong bot lanes. I was always a fan of Scooped and Plux, or, well, Frey now, as a bottom lane duo, especially back in their times where they played with on Team Revival, I believe it was, and they were making a lot of waves back then too. And I don't know. I always felt they were kind of underrated, so I'm glad that they get a chance here to actually try and prove themselves. And I'm glad Dragoon has a team as well. I mean, he played for Wildcard Black last year. Took some time off, I believe, by the end, but I'm glad he's still giving Amateur a chance.
Actually, Beatdown, he very clearly does not have a team. As you can see
this is called No Team. I'm sorry.
No Team.
You're right.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Smacks, you scared the hell out of me, bro. I thought I was like a different Dragoon, and like nobody told me, and oh my god, you scared me.
Oh, man. Yeah, I fully agree with both of you guys. Griffin has been a player that I've been watching for quite some time. And yeah, he's a big prodigy. He deserves all the hype. He deserves to be on this really big team. I'm very proud of him. Let my personal bias show just for a little bit. My boy Griffin, I'm excited for him. But yeah, super pumped for this team. Glad Elton Mock is back. Always rooting for Elton Mock to succeed. Let's move on to the 5th seed team, Evil Geniuses Prodigies, boys. We're back with another squad, and if you look across the board, the first thing that comes to mind is, wow, that is a lot of AoE members. So we got Faisal, Leo, and Sketchstreams.
And Faisal.
Yeah, pretty exciting players here. I'm looking forward to seeing these guys all back in action with some other promising players as well who did just go to Scouting Grounds.
What can we say? The year is 2022. AoE slowly taking over. They just haven't changed the names quite yet. It says EGP there, but maybe
this is
foreshadowing.
True. Hey, who knows? Maybe that might change yet. But I want to look at the players who aren't. That is not official. That is not a leak.
He's
memeing.
He's
that
memeing.
was just a joke. I was just memeing. But I want to look at the non-AoE members here, or non-former AoE members, Perry and Daption here, because Perry is another up-and-coming jungler who I think a lot of eyes are on. He did perform really well in some of the scrims off-season here, and I'm excited to see what he can do on this sort of team here where you've got a lot of carry potential in all your lanes, you've got a lot of strong mechanics, and the support. Daption, previously of Wildcard Red Triple Crown winners in the amateur scene here, and now he's working with all these other players. A lot of potential on this particular roster.
I think especially for Adaption, coming off that wild card split where they did take top 6 at Proving Grounds, with a bit of an asterisk, I will give them a lot of credit because the teams that they lost to were the ones that made it to top 3. So there's some debate that maybe they could have placed even higher than that, but we're not here to debate that one right now. I'm very happy that Adaption is on LCS affiliated squad, and yeah, I know that specifically Veteran is very, very hyped up by Leo. I know from hearing him talk about this player, he's given very big vouches for this guy. So if that means anything to you guys out there in the chat, then there you go. Give Leo all the hype that you've got.
I've heard a lot. I've heard equally good things about Faisal from some as well in the past.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested now. Like you're saying, he's on LCS affiliated roster. We've seen EGP do some good things just in general, and I'm excited to see how he's going to develop as well in the top lane. I know he's a big GP player. GP's always good, so I'm excited to see that. It's fun.
With a TP
yeah,
changes,
true.
man, that
Oh my God,
bonkers.
you're right.
Oh boy.
Well, anyways, we were talking about AOE and their affiliated roster. That's why I said foreshadowing. Guess what?
Here
You
we
didn't
go.
catch their tweet. They are affiliated with Immortals now, another LCS affiliated team, another group of players and staff we are all very familiar with in the community. I mean, Winston, Meech, Trevor, Shochi. We've seen them all.
We've seen those 3. Well, we've seen those 4.
I was going to
Well,
say.
I will say, yeah, sorry. Faster math, right? Can't count.
True.
But, to me, Shochi, despite the fact that we have seen Shochi before, I still feel like Shochi, to me, is a player that I still consider kind of new or that we haven't seen their full potential come through yet. And so when I look at this AOE roster, I feel like this is a typical AOE thing where they built a roster where they can develop players really well. And the players I have in mind here are Shochi and Anime Girl. Anime Girl, I cast this guy through various leagues back when they were still on Striking Vipers and while they were on Wildcard as well. And now they are on Immortals AOE, and Anime Girl has truly been on their own little anime arc here, powering up throughout 2021. And they're coming in hot into 2022. The offseason scrims had Anime Girl going up against quite a few top laners and holding their own against the likes of, Dragoon, of Alorum here. So I'm very, very hyped for this top lane, especially if they can get Anime Girl that experience, keep everything stable. That's definitely a win con that you can play through.
Yeah. I really like the hype that you're giving to this player. What I'm curious to see is if Anime Girl gets on an interview, if he will be in VTuber form, if he actually will be an Anime Girl. Because I think that would be perfect branding for a choice for that guy. I really hope that is the case. But yeah, really excited for this.
Immortals AOE,
game.
make it happen.
Please do. Speaking of, really love the logo. Shout out to the Kings
that does look
GFX for making this one. Super good logo. I love it.
Absolutely beautiful. And speaking of, we should start moving on to logos that maybe we're a little bit more familiar with. Not so big changes. And we saw the wildcard aces, but that's not the stacked deck. This is 3rd seed here. And will you look at that? 3rd seed and Zeus 3.0, or kind of, not really. Alorum, Griffin, and Rhino here. Wildcard, one thing that I've always liked about them is that they know how to build a team with a lot of proven skill. So we know that their ceiling, the floor is going to be very high for this team. Alorum, Griffin, Rhino, these guys just don't miss. And then you've got Strumpist coming in, a mid laner who impressed not just me, I think everybody at Scouting Grounds, the best team fighting player in Scouting Grounds for 2021 coming in as mid. That looks like a sure shot for wins here.
Yeah. I am super pumped for this team. Alorum, Griffin, and Rhino on that Zeus Gaming squad. The team that was heralded as the best late-game team in all of Amateur. Now you've got Strumpist on the squad, who plays things like that Rise that I always love to see him bouncing around in the side lane. The Azir as well, the Cassiopeia. This guy is a master of a scaling as well. So I think this is a great fit. Super excited for Wildcard. Also, Lucian landing a coaching spot in North America. Very proud of him as well. Looking forward to see him continue work, previously of Resolve/Barrage in 2021, and before that, Supernova. So, really excited that he is back and ready to go.
Yeah, it's also worth noting, too, Minui actually was on Wildcard at some point last year as well, did briefly part ways, and has actually returned. So that's a really exciting thing as well. just to see what things look like for both Minui and Wildcard as a whole this second time around.
On Wildcard Developmental and Black, and I guess they've
Yes.
decided Minui has developed sufficiently here. And I'm personally excited to see Minui because we talk about late game skilling for Lorem, Griffin, Strumpus, Rhino, and we should note as well, Strumpus has expanded his champion pool significantly, so he has early game champs like Lucian and LeBlanc in there as well. But Minui is a player who really likes to play for the early game. I've seen scrims where Minui just stomps the lane and just takes over the game right away here. And to me, that's the X factor that you need on a team, which seems so stable. You give one player the ability to just pop off, and hey, if they don't pop off, if things mess up and go against them here, well, that's where everybody else comes in as late game insurance.
Yeah. Always love, like you said before, RMC, pairing rookies with a lot of veteran talent, stable talent that does have a very clear play style that they like to do. And if Minui can, move into that one or pave the way for a new play style as well, then these guys are going to be a lethal weapon for Wildcard. And I can't wait for this team to be back in action. But yeah, we do have one more amateur team that we've got to reveal. The second seed, 100 Thieves next. You know them, you love them, and now they've got a whole lot of veterans on this squad, or at least more than other 100 Thieves next renditions in the past. We've got Insanity straight from LCS. We've got Fnatic and Array straight from Resolve, who previously placed very highly in Proving Grounds. And then, of course, we've got the young prodigy in the top lane, General Sniper, G-Snipes. He is previously rank 1 on the ladder, ending in rank 1 on 2021 season. And yeah, super, super pumped for this squad.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, all really good players in their previous teams. I mean, you look at Fnatic and Array, who have played really well on their time on Resolve. It's really nice to see them get to play together again. Of course, it's like G-Snipes, as you say, Smack's insanely hype for him to be picked up here by 100 Thieves. Super excited to see how he's actually going to perform. And honestly, really happy for Donbre as well. I've seen him around too. I've seen him play, even I believe he played for University of Western as well. And I think now it's just nice that he gets to be with this LCS affiliated org, get to see how well he can develop as well. And I mean, surrounded by players like this, I think he's going to have that opportunity to shine himself too.
Yeah, and for those of you who did not get to catch it on Twitter, Donbre is only subbing in for this squad, as Sword will be playing with the Academy team while they are waiting for Busio to be ready to play. So while Donbre is very exciting, and I am fully with you, Beatdown, I'm very excited to see him play, Sword will be back shortly. So whenever that is, we'll get the initially announced squad here for 100 Thieves next with Sword on the lineup.
Not gonna lie, I don't even know if they need sort of like. To me, this roster looks really good already. Array and Donbre is super stable. Bot lane, you've got Insanity in the mid lane, just coming off of LCS here, and then Sniper to take over, and Fnatic. Fnatic on Resolve has been an absolute beast as well. And when you give them this many options to pick from, yeah, Sword or no Sword, I think 100 Thieves next is looking like one of the top contenders here in at least this first tournament.
All right, but to be fair, RMC, you say, do they even need Sword? Well, they might need him for what they're going up against in that top seed. Why don't we go ahead and switch the slide? And it was said it was the last amateur team, because it is. The first seed is Golden Guardians Academy, very rightly put in the top position here.
Oh, yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah.
I see what happened now.
Yeah.
Academy team. Okay.
There you go.
Actually, I think if you look closely in Golden Guardians Academy's logo, you can see where Sword is. He's right there.
Oh my God, you're right. He's hiding.
grab
He's
him.
infiltrating.
Yeah, but yeah, the Academy team taking up our top spot. They were the only Academy team that made their way into the amateur tournaments in Proving Grounds 2021.
That's right.
And they will continue that trend here in 2022. Now, for those of you wondering at home, are these guys gaining, the same things, are like Proving Grounds qualification, prize pool, that sort of thing? No, they're not. They're using this for practice, and they are, they're effectively saying, hey, the amateur teams are amazing. They have a 50% win rate in Proving Grounds all time, mind you. Shout out to No Org from last year. And Golden Guards Academy did improve very steadily by going through these tournaments in the last year. So they're going to go for it again. They've got a new lineup on the block as well. And the most important thing, because they are in this league, it gives Niles a chance to play against his old team. And that is very exciting.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's
really
juicy right there. You know, not quite say revenge arc, but you know, it's always nice to meet old friends and show off a little bit there. And you know, I'm hoping more academy teams actually take cues from this. GGA came in third in the Proving Grounds, and they actually entered the Proving Grounds a little bit earlier than quite a few of the academy teams. So yeah, it's definitely something worth looking at. It's a good warm up as well for the academy season, but. Some of their players here, Ryoma stands out to me as a very, very strong mid laner. Another one coming through from the LCS here. And their AD carry, Violet. I see some people in chat wondering who's Violet. Well, Violet's an import from Oceania here. So definitely a name that we're not as familiar with. But generally, when these teams import players from overseas, you know that they were good enough to draw attention to actually get them the visas, get them the paperwork to come here.
Yeah, and he was the best AD carry in the last split of the Oceanic League. So very, very well-earned spot for Violet on this Academy squad. I personally think this team is going to make waves in Academy, let alone this tournament. So definitely big contenders all around. And yeah, with that, guys, we have all of our teams. Look at that. So beautiful.
That is insane. And like we were saying before, like 16 of these 32 teams will make it out of the OQ into the main tournaments. And now this is going to show us what these round one matchups are going to look like. And I mean, I might as well get into what the OQ format is going to actually be starting on Monday. And basically what that is there's going to be a total of 5 best of ones played, 2 on Monday, 3 on Tuesday, and it's going to be a Swiss bracket. You need to win 3 matches, and you have made it into the top 16. And you might be wondering, if we lose 3, what's the point in playing? Well, winning any match in the OQ, even if you're already eliminated, will get you 5 points towards Proving Grounds qualification. So it is still going to be worth it to play all of your matches.
And again, to reiterate, wins in OQ do matter for Proving Grounds qualification. That is 100% correct. So definitely want to bring your A game to this tournament, not only to get into the main tournament, but also to bolster your chance to qualify for PG.
Yeah, I mean, Chronos mentioned, right? Like the next tournament might not have the same teams here, so every little bit of points you can get does contribute towards your odds of making it into the main tournament. And if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the info dump we've done tonight here, no worries. For the teams, let's address you guys first because it's important. You guys are playing in 2 days' time. You should be receiving invitations to the Proving Ground Circuit Qualifiers Discord, where all the information can be found. There will be links in there to all the appropriate documents you need to keep track of everything. And for anybody not on a team but interested in figuring out all these things here, I believe the mods might be dropping some links in the Twitch chat as well. If not, I'm sure the Unified team will be getting that information out to everyone out there as well. You know, all the rules and all that stuff here.
All right. Well, with that, thanks for the roundup, gentlemen. That is all from us. We've got all the 32 teams in for the tournament, and like you just said, RMC, you should be getting invites to the Discord server where we're actually going to be playing. If that didn't happen, definitely reach out to some of the Unified staff, and they will get on that right away. But yeah, any final thoughts from you guys? I feel great. I feel like we got a really big stacked list of teams.
Right, and honestly, it makes it that much. It's going to make it that much more crazier when we actually find out who makes it out of the OQs. I mean, of this stacked lineup of 30 some odd teams, half are going to be just cut out of the running. So when we get to that top 16 bracket, like, you got to imagine that is going to be an absolute bloodbath of top teams.
Yeah, and when I'm looking at these teams, while the names are familiar, there's been a lot of shakeups. I don't think we're seeing any intact teams from last year either. So
that's true.
Very much looking forward to seeing, you know, how all of these guys interact, especially the newer names here. Smacks, Beatdown. Can it be Monday already?
Yeah. Let's try to get to Monday just a little bit sooner. Yeah. But yeah, with that, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Like RMC just said, be back here on Monday. We will be streaming some of the open qualifier games on this very channel alongside Unified Live 2. Hopefully I got that name right. Both of those channels will be live with OQ action, and there probably will be other streams as well. You definitely check out some of the other team streams because we won't be able to cover all of the matches. So yeah, definitely give that a look. Good luck to all the teams participating. I can't wait to see you on the Rift. I can't wait to see if you do make it into the first Proving Grounds Circuit qualifier for 2022. With that, everyone, have a great night, and we'll see you on Monday.